My father and my mother had a deep affection, but he brought back a concubine on my birthday. When my father left Beijing, I packed up my sister-in-law. Later, when my father returned from victory, he knelt down at his sister-in-law, welcomed the prince back to the palace. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. On my birthday, my father gave me a big gift. The beautiful girl was pushed in front of me. My father coughed lightly and said to me, "This is your sister, Yan Ci." After my father finished speaking, he hurriedly left Beijing with his men. My father and my mother have a deep affection. After my mother died, he has never remarried. And now he suddenly has a concubine about the same age as me. I stared at Yan Ci and suddenly smiled. Good sister, sister's birthday. I don't know what congratulatory gift you have prepared. Yan Ci looks beautiful and moving. And his speech is also soft and soft, which makes people's ears itch when he listens. Ci was busy entering Beijing and forgot to prepare the ceremony. Is it Ci's? I touched my chin. It's not in the way. My sister has a good voice. Why don't you sing a song to cheer my sister? I wanted to use this to give Yan Ci a disadvantage. Unexpectedly, she was not ambiguous, and sang directly. I listened to the gripping tone, but the more I listened, the more wrong it became. Stretch nay. Touch the top of my sister's head. When he sang to his sister, Yan Ci's low voice carried a sense of sand, and he grabbed people tightly. After singing the song, most of my ears were red. Yan Ci stood there. His narrow eyes seemed to have double hooks, and he looked at me directly and asked, "Does my sister like it?" I was annoyed and angry, and arranged Yan Ci in the most dilapidated courtyard of the mansion. My father is not here, and I am the only one in the entire general's mansion. And it is not enough to catch a concubine, but I didn't expect Yan Ci to really have some ability. As soon as she entered the house, she took away my childhood sweetheart. When I took someone to Yan Ci courtyard, Chinese scholar was outside the door. When he saw me coming, he stopped in front of me with a panicked face. "Missy, why are you here? I'm going to call our young master." "No, I'll do it myself." I waved my hand and told him to back off. The door in the small courtyard was closed, and I seemed to see the little mandarin ducks inside. I bit my lip and waved my hand to slam the door. Shin Yi came out. He was dressed in a green shirt, with a long jade body, clear eyebrows, and a gentleman who was as gentle as jade. When he saw me, the man's eyebrows warmed slightly. Yan Ci is also there. She stood behind Shin Yi. Shin Yi was originally born tall, and the two stood together, but I found that Yan Ci was not short, and she looked very matched. Shin Yi lowered his eyebrows and touched my head with his warm palm. "Xinjin, you live your life in peace. Stay away from Yan Ci." This scene is somewhat familiar. It's like the book I just finished reading. The protagonist is bullied by her lover's fiancé, and the lover is busy standing up for the protagonist. Yan Ci's little hooves stood behind Shin Yi. I looked at her, and she just happened to raise her eyes, with a hint of mockery in her dark eyes. "It's just me off." I endured the grievances and went back to the room, rummaging through my private collection of words, and sure enough, the protagonists in the books were all women from humble backgrounds, beautiful and weak. The writer called them White Lotus. Although they come from humble backgrounds, they can always win the love of all kinds of men, and they often have a supporting role with outstanding family backgrounds and bright looks to accompany them. I looked at the beautiful face in the bronze mirror, gritted my teeth and recognized the fact that I was not the weak protagonist. I asked Chunxing to stuff 50 taels of silver to the writer overnight, and asked how to deal with this kind of woman. The writer said, "Soft and soft. Soft on the outside and rigid on the inside." I had a lot of money, and I waved my hand and added 50 pieces of silver. "I don't understand. Let's explain it plainly." The writer was overjoyed and hurriedly put the silver in his pocket. "When others are around, girl, you treat her well to death, and when no one sees her, the girl will punish her again." "Sir, good. I have been empowered, and if I have received a treasure, I will be enshrined as a treasure." Before going to bed, I said to the little girl next to me, "Tomorrow I will call Yan Ci to greet me. Remember, let her come alone." Early the next morning, the sky was slightly bright, I opened my eyes in a daze, and I saw Yanxi's face that was so beautiful that it did not look like a real person. Between snorts, it's almost stuck to me, she was half sideways, looking at me condescendingly, the flickering candlelight reflected on Yanxi's body, making her more and more beautiful and extraordinary. I was getting angrier and angrier. Yanxi's beautiful eyebrows and eyes were slightly raised, with a bit of coolness. What is my sister looking for? I really couldn't bear the warm mattress, so I only shrunk myself in the quilt, revealing a pair of bright eyes and instructing her. It is natural for a concubine to serve her concubine. You were not by my side when you were young, and now that you are back, you must make up for the past debts. What does my sister want me to do? Yanxi's tone was clear, but he did not refute it. She looked obedient. I raised my chin at her. Fetch a basin of water. Clean my face first. A chill rose in the room. Yanxi's dark eyes were dark, and he looked at me quietly. I raised my eyebrows slightly. Why, you don't want to? Yanxi's thin lips pulled slightly. I haven't served anyone. I'm afraid of hurting my sister. Excuses are excuses. I smiled coldly. I haven't served. Just serve a few more times. My sister loves you. This is a chance for you to practice. If you sincerely don't want to get close to my sister, then don't live in this general's mansion. Hearing me say this, Yanxi finally turned around. I was content to lie in the silk quilt and watch Yanxi fetch water and come back to clean my face. The woman's hands were slender and slightly cool, and I realized that Yanxi was not only taller than ordinary women, but also had the same hands. Pity. I looked at her flat chest. The cold fingertips, with a little roughness, touched my cheek. I couldn't help but shudder slightly. Why don't you know to warm your hands? Sue heard that my tone was wrong, and the breath of the person behind him was slightly soothing. Even the handkerchief applied to my face moved a little softer. It's all freezing my face. The towel was thrown into the basin with a snap. I shuddered. As soon as she raised her eyes, the little girl's pretty face was covered with frost. Heh, it's quite good at bluffing. I was cowardly in my heart. But I still held on to my eldest sister's style, unwilling to fall in front of Yanxi. Look at your clumsy appearance. Why don't you go back and learn more, so as not to hurt Miss Ben? Yanxi's thin lips are slightly pulled, and his narrow eyebrows and eyes are slightly drooping, like a landscape painting dyed with ink. Sister is right. I was stunned for a moment by her jade face. In an instant, the handkerchief thrown in the basin was pasted on my face. The person behind him smiled. His tone was gentle, and he whispered softly, I'm not good at learning, so I can only fly first, and I can only serve my sister well by practicing my hands, and my sister can be treated. Yanxi. The silk handkerchief was plastered on my face, and between my lips and teeth could only overflow with fragments of dissatisfaction. The veil was taken down, and Yanxi stood on the side. His eyebrows were like blades, and his smile was like a knife. I covered my painful face and took a self-portrait in the mirror. His face was as white as jade. I slammed the silver mirror on the table with a snap, staring at the departing figure and gritting my teeth with hatred. This enmity is not shared. There are many banquets in Beijing. Miss Zhang Er's flower viewing banquet last month won a good reputation. The Jing family is the head of the civil officials, and Zhang Yun relies on himself to be a noble family, and he has always been high. And he looks down on me, the daughter of a military attaché. The beginning of the month is approaching, so I specially sent someone to send a post. Chen Xing posted a post. Miss Zhang asked the general if the autumn banquet of the military mansion was ready, and if she needed her help. She's always been with me, she can't help, but my jokes are real. I raised my eyebrows and smiled and tossed the post aside. My mother died early, and my father was away all the year round. And these noble girls in the capital bullied me into being weak, losing their mothers at a young age, and having no elder upbringing, and they showed their superiority in front of me one by one. It's a pity that I don't have much else in the general's mansion. Just a lot of silver. The servants and maidservants set up the courtyard properly, and I specially asked the people below to find the rare plain crown and lotus pot, which was enough to suppress the scene on the day of the feast. I was dressed up. In the mirror, the person has apricot eyes and peach cheeks, looking forward to the brilliance. The forehead is dotted with pale pink flowers, and the white jade tassel is on the side. The more bright the eyes are good, and the more agile and beautiful. Chun-Xing also lost her mind, came back to her senses, and hurriedly offered, "Miss is really a fairy among flowers, and her beauty is unparalleled." As soon as the hour came, Zhang Yun's group came. Zhang Yun's group of little sisters have always taken the route of Qingli out of the dust. What we believe in is that people are as light as chrysanthemums, elegant and noble. Zhang Yun wore a moonlight gauze thin skirt, with a fairy spirit. When he saw me, the smile on his lips faded. "Sister Ahau is dressed up so luxuriously today." I smiled and took her compliment in my ears. There is not much in the general's mansion, but there is a lot of silver. So naturally there is no need to wrong yourself. Zhang Yun is the second room in the family, and his family background is noble, but he has no silver. The corners of Zhang Yun's lips twitched. When the person was almost there, my eyes flickered, and I ordered Chun-Xing on the side, "Go and call Yan Ci. When she first came to Beijing, she should recognize the talent. On such a good occasion, it is natural to show my deep sisterhood for Yan Ci." Afraid that she wouldn't come, I kept an eye on it. "If she doesn't come, tell her, and I'll take it upon myself to see her." The feast was about to begin, and Chun-Xing came in from the courtyard next to her. He glanced at me from afar. Yan Ci followed her, and as soon as I came in, I realized that she was actually wearing a veil. The woman's light veil wraps her face, making it difficult to see her true face, but it is more and more high-looking, like a murmuring jasper, and it is forgotten to see it. Suddenly, the nobles in the courtyard were silent, and only the sound of running water passed. I tugged at my veil. "That's a good idea," knowing that it can't be compared to me. He plays these small tricks to attract attention. What is my sister looking for? Yan Ci walked in front of me, the light veil covering most of her face, revealing only a pair of beautiful eyes. With the words of the writer in my heart, Ri stretched out her arm to hold Yan Ci. Smiling slightly, Yan Ci's eyes were stunned. His eyebrows were slightly condensed, and he stretched out his hand to pull it out. I didn't expect Yan Ci to be so faceless, and I was sweating in a hurry. "Oops." He squeezed her hand and lowered his voice. "Good sister, there are so many people. You don't want your sister to lose face, right?" Yan Ci smiled slightly and walked to my side. As soon as I put down my heart, she bent down to my ear and whispered, "Sister's face. What does it have to do with me? Those who know the times are Junjie." I softened my voice, my eyes watery. "We all had a misunderstanding before. When I was in trouble when I was a child, I looked at my father with this kind of gaze, and I was able to escape every time. After all, it's a family. So you can't let others see the jokes, right?" Yan Ci's expression was pale, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Zhang Yun, who was sitting at the bottom, raised his eyes lightly and asked aloud, "Who is this girl?" "This is my sister, who has been in poor health since she was a child, and has been raised in the deep boudoir." I smiled slightly, and took advantage of Yan Ci's stunned moments to pull her down beside me, mentioned that he was raised in the deep boudoir. Yan Ci glanced at me and looked at me sideways. I felt a chill down my spine and unconsciously tussed my shirt. The young lady of the Cui family on the side pulled the handkerchief and covered her lips and chuckled. "This is really strange. One of the two sisters is a rich flower in the world, and the other is beautiful and white and flawless." Zhang Yun's eyes rolled, and he smiled lightly. "The second lady has an outstanding appearance, but unfortunately she has never been seen in the deep boudoir, so she will have to come out and walk around often in the future." Zhang Yun estimated that Yan Ci was a concubine, and according to my personality, it was inevitable that Yan Ci would be like fire and water. And I wanted to take the opportunity to win over Yan Ci. Although she guessed correctly, it was, I and the second lady hit it off at first sight. If we are free, it is better to, not available. Yan Ci has never been pretentious to me, let alone outsiders. She wanted to win over Yan Ci, but she didn't admit that Yan Ci would not give face. The corners of my lips curled, and I looked at Yan Ci a little more pleasing to the eye. Cui Jingji saw that Zhang Yun was disgraced, and immediately charged into battle as a pawn, a concubine. Miss Zhang is to give you face, so she will promote you. Don't know what to do, it's really a dog's mouth that can't spit out ivory. My willow eyebrows raised slightly, and Furong was angry on her face, the face of my general's mansion. Is it possible that it is not as big as Miss Zhang's face? Yes. It's me who said no. Cui Jingji couldn't help but shrink when she saw me speak. She didn't expect me to speak up for a maid, originally wanted to shoot Zhang Yun's sycophants, but he also became courageous. Zhang Yun's eyebrows frowned slightly, and he shook his head at Cui Jingji. Just a few jokes, don't disturb our spirits. Zhang Yun smiled. Yen, let's play the wine order. I don't know if it's a coincidence, several drinking orders have pointed to Yen Ci. It seems that God intended to let us see the second lady's masterpiece. Zhang Wan smiled on her lips. If you are embarrassed, don't worry, just drink a glass of thin wine. I felt a little uneasy in my heart. The entire general's mansion couldn't find a single scholar. Last time I was in Zhang's house, I was deliberately embarrassed by Zhang Yun in front of everyone, and I suffered a loss. This time I prepared the cheat sheet early, although I don't like Yen Ci. She is our Yi family after all. The ancestors of the Yi family have never been able to study. Although she looks like she is tall, she is afraid that she is also an embroidered pillow, which is useless. If you can't write poetry, you will be punished with wine. This wine looks sweet, but in fact it is hateful. Yen Ci is so weak that he doesn't know if there are any hidden diseases. I glanced at Yen Ci's little appearance. For a while, she didn't wait for her to be embarrassed in front of everyone, and stood up straight and said, I'll drink it for her. After a glass of wine, I put a light red on my face, but Zhang Yun was determined to make Yen resign ugly. 3 times in a row, the maid beating the drum beside her stopped drumming at Yen Ci. I stood up with Yen Ci's hand and continued to drink the 4th glass of wine for her. The woman's hands were slightly cool, and the tiger's mouth was covered with a thin callus. I glanced at my slender fingers, which were soft and smooth. The smell of wine came up. I turned around and hugged Yen Ci and choked up. Good sister, you have suffered, but she suffers and suffers, and I really can't drink it. Belch. Down. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I hurriedly whispered in her ear, why don't you leave the table first? Yen Ci's eyes lowered slightly, and he asked me, when did I say I couldn't write poetry? I just feel that the wine in my stomach has become angry. Raising his head at Yen Ciu, then you didn't say it earlier. Yen Ci should be ordered to drink, and Zhang Yun is naturally happy to see it come to fruition. Zhang Yun stood up and said, then I'll come first. She is outstanding. She is a famous talented woman in the capital. And after a wine order was completed, the hall applauded. I looked at Yen Ci nervously, holding the wine cup in my left hand. If she can't do it, I will drink faster, and it can be regarded as saving the face of our Yi family. Yen Ci looked lazy. Just use the word Miss Zhang just now. It is said that the pearl and jade are in front, and its edge should be avoided. But Yen resigned. But no, Zhang Yun chose a word, and she followed suit, just crushed Zhang Yun to the point where there was no room for it. After the first order was made, Zhang Yun's lips were pale and his face was embarrassed. Zhang Yun is known as the Shuangshu of the capital, and calls herself Zhuge among women, but she was actually put in the limelight by a concubine, so she couldn't be angry. The corners of my lips curled. Yen Ci rolled his eyes at me, and his eyebrows moved slightly. Happy? How can I not be happy to see the face of the sworn enemy in disgrace? Happy? He even forgot about the rectification of Yen Ci, but I forgot. But Yen Ci didn't. A cool breeze poured into my room, and I woke up from the cold. When I opened my eyes, I saw Yen Ci standing on the side, his black eyelashes drooping, looking at me meaninglessly. What are you doing here? It was freezing cold, and all the heating in the house ran out. I wrapped the futon a little tighter. Naturally, I am waiting for my sister to wash up. Yen Ci smiled slightly coldly, and he was still holding a towel in his hand. I just found out that this person really holds a grudge. Excuse me today. I shrank into the futon and poked my head out. If you really have a hard time, it's freezing this day. come in and warm the quilt for my sister, it's so cold outside, looking at her face as cold as frost. She must be very frozen. I have rare kindness, but I don't know what Yen Ci is crazy about. Her originally spooky face suddenly became a little colder, and she picked up the handkerchief and pasted it on my face. As soon as the cold handkerchief was applied to it, I instantly came to my senses. It was still cold water. Zhang Yun suffered a loss, and he had to make up for it the next day. When the Zhang family held a banquet, she specially posted to me, naming me and asking me to bring Yen Ci. Girl, do you really want to take the second lady there? Chuanqing asked me while combing my hair. She is a concubine. If she doesn't take advantage of these opportunities to show up, how can she have a chance to find a good husband in the future? The world has many descendants, and Yen Ci is already raised outside. She is so talented. If she doesn't take this opportunity to meet more people, how can she choose a husband in the future? With me protecting her, Zhang Yun didn't dare to do anything. I sighed slowly. What's more, let her know that she and Shenyi have no future. Shenyi's family is noble, and his mother is the younger sister of the emperor of the dynasty. When they see me, they often have a cold face. What's more, it's Yen Ci. When I went to the banquet, Zhang Yun specially arranged Yen Ci under me. The last time I saw my sister Yao Kai in the general's mansion, I never forgot it. Zhang Yun had a smile on his face. I want to ask my sister to teach me well today. She clearly came prepared. I bit my thin lip and glanced at Yen Ci. She looks indifferent, but even if Zhang Yun came prepared, he was defeated by Yen Ci's men. Naturally, I applauded Yen Ci. Zhang Yun lost face, looked at me and said inexplicably, Miss Yi really has a big heart, and she has such a good face for a concubine. I smiled unabatedly. Yes, she is my heart. Don't mess with Miss Zhang. She has a bigger temper than me. Yen Ci turned his eyes to look at me. I looked at it calmly and smiled like a spring flower. What's the matter, sister's little heart? Zhang Yun's face was ugly, and he choked on his words before he finished speaking. I was so happy to see it that I drank a few more glasses at once. Drink less. Thin, slender fingers took the jade cup from my hand. Yen Ci's veiled face became a little unreal. Yen Ci glanced at me and couldn't persuade me, walked out with a cold face. After 3 rounds of the feast, I found that the person sitting at the bottom was gone. There was a commotion in the backyard, and I led the maid over. I don't know what happened, but the courtyard was full of people, in the innermost. Zhang Yun's voice came out. She grimaced, pointed at Yen Ci and said, although you are a member of the Yi family, you are just a concubine, and you dare to throw your face at me. Cui Jingji was about to pull the veil of resignation when he got started, wearing a veil. It won't be difficult to see people, Yen Ci sneered. You don't wear a veil. Don't you still laugh and be generous? Yen Ci stood there quietly, as if to say, everyone present is inferior. Zhang Yun was so angry that he couldn't speak. Her eyes swept away, and the servant and maid beside her immediately stepped forward and wanted to hold down Yen Ci. I was half sober in an instant, frowned, pushed away the crowd, and pulled the person behind him. Who dares to touch her? Yen Ci was a little wet by the hand I held in the palm of his hand, and he must have been extremely scared. When Zhang Yun saw me coming, he didn't get angry but laughed. This is in the Zhang mansion, Yizhenjin. Even if you are barbaric and vulgar by nature, you must know the occasion. You concubine, wearing a veil, is rampage in the backyard of my Zhang family, saying that she is taking some kind of sobering soup. Who knows if there is any other intention to climb the dragon and attach the phoenix? Zhang Yun had a cold face. If you don't let this maid kowtow to me and apologize, you don't have to come to the elegant gathering we hold in the future. Elegant banquets are mostly occasions for the mothers of high-ranking families to choose their daughters-in-law. If there is no way to go to the banquet, it will be difficult to find a good marriage. Chuanqing was so anxious that she tugged at my sleeve and whispered in my ear, Miss, this is an obstacle to your reputation. The second girl of the dignified Zhang family will also daydream. I ignored Zhang Yun, threw up my sleeves and left with Yen Ci. On the carriage, Yen Ci's black eyes were heavy. You don't hate me, so why stand up and speak for me? I snorted softly. You are from our general's mansion, representing my father's face. How can I let you be wronged? Besides, although you are annoying, you are not so annoying. So you don't have to be presumptuous. Yen Ci stared at me, and the corners of his lips that had just curled sank again. The matter of the Zheng mansion spread outside, when Xin-Yi came to the door. I specially watched Yen Ci's courtyard, lest her heart ripple in spring. I saw Xin-Yi and called him, Brother Xin, if you want a book. Xin-Yi's warm and jade-like eyebrows and eyes had a light smile, and he handed me the things in his hand. Thank you. Brother Xin. My eyes lit up and I quickly took it. You're with Yen. When it comes to Yen Ci, his words are quite vague. He has always been a gentleman, so he naturally refused to call his daughter's maiden name. Although I didn't say it explicitly, I also knew what Xin-Yi wanted to say. Brother Xin, don't worry, Yen Ci is my sister after all, and we get along very well. Xin-Yi's face was stunned, as if he didn't expect me to say this. That's good, of course. But, after all, you have different identities, so you don't need to get too close. His eyebrows were gentle, but I could see that my heart was a little sour. Xin-Yi has never been a person who pays attention to his concubines. So he is afraid that I will bully Yen Ci. Although there is a difference between the concubines, she is my sister after all. Brother Xin, don't worry. I know it in my heart. I smiled, seeing Xin-Yi away. I walked to the backyard with a heavy heart. As soon as I turned around, Yen Ci was standing behind me, her beautiful and amorous eyebrows and eyes drooping, with a bit of gloom, as if she had caught someone out of the wall. My heart tightened, and I turned to ask him, what? You're jealous? Yen Ci was poked by me at the center, and his expression sank a little more. Jealous, I snorted. She thinks that if she pretends to be innocent in front of me, I can't see what she is doing with Xin-Yi. It's useless for you to eat my jealousy. I'm a childhood sweetheart with Brother Xin, naturally not comparable to you. But don't worry, you are also quite good-looking, and now that you flatter me, I will definitely find you a good family. Yen Ci did not respond. He didn't speak. His long narrow eyes glancing at me, it made me a little flustered. After a while, Yen Ci let out a cold heh. With a calm face, he turned and left. My father sent someone to find a Persian cat from nowhere. The whole body is snow white, and a pair of turquoise cat's eyes are exceptionally clear. I touched the cat, and inexplicably thought of Yen Ci's narrow phoenix eyes. Although it was given to me, Yen Ci is also my father's daughter after all. Chuanqing, you call Yen Ci. I plan to let Yen Ci also feel this rare fatherly love. Chunxing responded crisply and walked out. It's too hot in the house where the earth dragon burns. The cat was scurrying around the house. I was already a little afraid of the heat, so I only wore light gauze and thin clothes in the house, teasing the cat with his chin propped up. Yizhenjin, do you know how to be ashamed? As soon as Yen Ci entered the room, his tone was a little hoarse. Don't turn away for a moment. She gritted her teeth, and most of her jade-like ears were red. I looked at her annoyed gaze and looked at myself again. Haven't seen it. I glanced sympathetically at her chest. No wonder. Maybe my words are too sharp. Yen Ci avoided it for 3 days. I don't know if I was so angry at night. I cried and wet the bedding, and even changed the mattress. I'm losing my hair. Come to think of it, it's still a matter of resignation. She has seen too little, which is why she is shy. I was holding the booklet that I had carefully collected. In the middle of the night, there was a knock on the door of Yen Ci. The door creaked open. The woman leaning on the side was like a waterfall, and a pair of narrow phoenix eyes looked at me deeply. I'm coming to you for a candlestick talk. I coughed lightly and was about to squeeze in. You and I have a candle talk. Yen Ci's eyes were slightly condensed, and the corners of his lips were raised. What? Don't you look down on my sister and think I'm not worthy? I looked at Yen Ci. Nature, it's not. I pulled out the secret booklet that I had prepared long ago. That's good. It is said that the eldest sister is like a mother, and you are also older. I should teach you some truths. You teach me. Her narrow eyes glanced at each other, and there was interest in them. I could see the amusement in her eyes, and the indignation in my heart, determined to let her see and see. I unfolded the booklet that I had prepared to teach her ethics. With a light cough, He handed over the drawing book. Look, as soon as the words began, Yen Ci shook his hand as he took the booklet. She was already born white, her face became more and more picturesque, and even her breath was a little heavier. Very yip. I stood aggrieved outside the door. Sure enough, I still know too little. It still has to be gradual. Rui shui jiao fei year. My father was often out on the road, and he never came back on Chinese New Year's Eve. In the first year of Yan's resignation, I finally had a companion. At the vigil, I hung a blessing paper full of blessings by the lantern. Yen Ci looked at me. Why write my name? I was full of questions. Aren't you my sister? She was silent for a moment, then said softly, what if I don't want to be your sister? I pondered for a moment. Honestly, are you still holding a grudge against me? Yen Ci's thin lips moved, looking like he wanted to say something, but it was difficult to speak. Alas, I guessed it right. In order to make Yen Ci happy, I specially made a Kongming lantern for her. Fireworks are lit. The Kongming lantern with her name written on it rode away in the wind. My eyes lit up and I looked back at her. Do you like it? The cold face that was as beautiful as a fairy also warmed up. Yen Ci looked at me and said softly, I like it. The candles of the vigil were lit all night. I couldn't help but fall asleep next to her shoulder. Not to mention, it's quite comfortable. After the new year, the springtime slipped away as if it had drilled a crack. I offended Zhang Yun, and naturally no one in Beijing was willing to invite me to the banquet. The noisy spring days of previous years have also stopped a little. Yen Ci didn't know what he was busy with, and often closed the door. Maybe I was heartbroken by the circle in Beijing. Shani personally came to the door to find Yen Ci. I don't have a reason to stand in the way. Looking at his back as he left, I sighed in my heart. Maybe when I see my sweetheart, Yen Ci's mood will be better. I leaned on the door and listened to the movement inside. Jinzhen's heart is not bad. She has been simple since she was a child, and her temperament is straightforward. Don't blame it, it's simple. Yen Ci's cold voice came into my ears, and it was rare for me to feel a little pleasing to my ears. My heart is full of joy. Finally, this person still knows a little bit of human sophistication, and he didn't secretly speak ill of me in front of Shen Yi. After a moment, she said, then what does Lord Shen mean to Jinzhen? I kicked the door open in a panic. 2 eyes were on me. Yen Ci saw me come in, with a coldness wrapped in the corners of his eyes, and looked at me with a smile. Sister, what's wrong? After Shen Yi left, Yen Ci came to my side. I looked at her. Do you have something to say to me? Her face was stunned, and her narrow eyes drooped subconsciously. At first glance, I was poked in the heart. Her thin lips opened slightly. Actually, Shen Yi, I didn't want to listen to her relief. I'll just say, before the prince left, he praised you. I couldn't believe it, and my heart was full of joy. What are you praising me? My dad touched his beard and smiled. Praise you for being simple and clear. I was stunned in my heart, and I didn't come down. Yen Ci became a popular husband candidate for a noble girl in Beijing. My father was rewarded for his meritorious service in quelling the chaos. Zhang Yun's small group began to accept me again and treat me as a guest. At the banquet, everyone talked a lot. Sister Yi is also going, right? Zhang Wan looked at me with a smile. It's good to go through the motions and see the world. That's what I thought, too. So when I entered the palace, I only brought a few pastries with me, but I didn't expect to wait until the pastry was finished. Zhang Yun was defeated, but I entered the inner sanctum with trepidation in the shocked eyes of others. There was only one person in the temple. He wears a vermilion brocade robe, long hair tied in a crown, long eyebrows into the sideburns, and amorous eyebrows. There was a slight smile hidden in the man's thin lips. Call me, sister is here. I couldn't help but shake a little. He approached me. The clear incense of the man's body penetrated my nose. Why did my sister look at me so unfamiliar? Yen Ci smiled with a smile. When we talk at night, my sister is not like this. I looked at the top of my head, and there was nothing to love. I'm damned. It's the courtier's daughter who has no form, and she has abruptly assaulted the prince in the palace. I pinched myself, and Chu looked at Yen Ci pitifully. But the courtier's sincerity to the prince can be seen in the sky, and the sun and the moon can be. Yen Ci lowered his eyes and looked at me. If you had said earlier that you were interested in me, wouldn't you have saved all this effort, huh? Before I could react,
The phoenix hairpin in his hand had been inserted into my sideburns. "It's a good fit for you, sister." His black eyes, as cool as water, looked at me quietly. The decree that I was made the crown princess entered the palace. My father led me to my knees and took the order. After the eunuch left, my father looked at me indescribably. "Jinjin, you tell your father honestly, didn't you take the prince's handle?" At this point, my father was sure that it was not me who threatened Yen Ci to marry me, so he could only invite a nurturing grandmother from the palace to urgently remedy me. He has pampered me since he was a child, spoiled me in everything, and just wanted to find a son-in-law in the future. But I didn't think about his daughter. I didn't make a sound, and she was a blockbuster. Now that he is the crown princess, he finds out that his daughter is a beautiful waste. It's really useless. And I don't know anything about all the trivial things, so anxious that my father couldn't wait to beg Yen to retract his life. The upbringing from the palace is really amazing. I lived for 18 years before I learned that there are rules for walking and rules for eating. When practicing the rules, Mama came over with a whip and said with a cold face, "Missy is the future crown princess, a role model for women in the world. She must be dignified and virtuous, so she can be a model for women." It was so bitter that I cried to Chunxing overnight whether I could escape from marriage. When Yen Ci came to the door, the nurturing grandmother was holding a whip to my ear, talking about the way of the monarch and the minister. "Teach me how to get along with the prince," the so-called way of getting along with the monarch and the minister. Seeing him coming, the mama, who had always been cold-faced, persuaded with a little smile, "His Royal Highness the Prince. It is unreasonable to meet before marriage." The corners of Yen Ci's lips were cold. "Since you know the way of the monarch and the minister, the crown princess is the king, and you are the minister. How can you shout at the crown princess?" The nurturing grandmother was so frightened that she couldn't speak, and hurriedly retreated. Yen Ci stood up for me, which made me a little embarrassed. Yen Ci's dark eyes were clear. "You are my wife first, and then the crown princess. So you don't have to listen to people." My face must be hot. It was so hot that I couldn't help but fan it with my hands stupidly. On the day of the wedding, I was pulled up by Chunxing in the middle of the night. The heavy phoenix crown is on the head, which can be regarded as a little real. The maidservants surrounded the house and said auspicious words. I put on my father's back and a veil and got into the sedan chair. He has always been 5 big and 3 coarse. And he couldn't help wiping his tears, step by step, towards the end of the man. The veil was raised, and I looked at Yen Ci. His face is like jade, and his bright red wedding dress can't hide his delicate and beautiful eyebrows, which is so thrilling to look at. I swallowed. The dragon and phoenix red candle lights lit up the house. The lights flickered faintly by the window, outlining the figures. The jade tassel hung down his cheek. The white porcelain-like skin is becoming more and more cold, and people dare not look at it. The palace maids on the side all retreated, and only the 2 of us were left in the huge palace. I was a little afraid to look at him. Yen Ci looked at me and grasped my palm. I crashed into his arms, and my heart beat like a drum. The man's narrow eyes were dyed a little red, and he said in a dumb voice, "You can teach me personally."